Hello, my name is Anna Sellers. I'm also known as Shehab on some of the gaming sites and on some of the social media because Shehab is my gamer handle. I am one half of the Twisted Ventures. My husband Hehab is the other half, and I'm here to talk about the Napnhaggle. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load the Napnhaggle. And then we are going to make sure that we are sharing this module with our players because the players are going to need to access some of the images that go along with the Napnhaggle a little bit later. So now that we've got it loaded and we have it shared, we are going to go ahead and take a look at what is inside. So let's begin by opening up the library and seeing what is in the Napnhaggle module. We have images and maps, items, story, and parcels. The first thing you're going to want to do is open up the story because you are going to want to customize this to suit your game. Before we start the customization, let's just take a look at these boards to see what information is there that you might want to change. So we open up all of the boards and we kind of mouse around. The in-services board is pretty much ready to go. There isn't a whole lot of changes that you can do. The one thing that you need to know right off the bat is that any of these pins that are green are shared with your players when you share this image. So if you do not want them to have one of these available or some of these available, you simply right click on them, you make the link private, and when the player comes and sees this, all they're going to see is that little ring there. They're not going to see the actual pin that goes into the board. So that's one of the customizations that might be important for your in-services. So say, for example, all of the single beds are taken and you want your players to only have double bed rooms. You can you can choose to make that link private and they're only going to be able to purchase double beds. So that's one of the customizations you can do on the end services. For the announcements, let's just say, for example, that you don't want a forecast or you don't want the forecast to say this. You're going to want to make some changes to that. And you most certainly are going to want to change the names and the rewards for these bounties. And of course, your help wanted board, those are your player hooks. So you want to put your own player hooks in there. And should you decide that you don't want this many player hooks, you can certainly unshare them and then prepare that for your players. Now that we've seen this from the DM side, let's take a look at this from Grok, our player side. So Grok comes into the inn, and you, the DM, have described the inn and told him that there is a large bulletin board that has 4 different sections, and these are the 4 sections. He can certainly take a look around. So Grok decides to take a look around and he takes a look to see what is available from the inn. He sees that there are some bounties and rewards being offered up. He noticed that there's some announcements about what is going on around town. And he sees that there is a help wanted board. Now he can open these up and he can see some of the details about these jobs. The local merchants guild is apparently paying somebody to clean the toilets because orcs have come into town. That's not really his thing. What he really wants is he really wants to just get a room for the night and take a bath. So you see that Grok has 5 gold pieces and 10 silver pieces. So he can afford to get a room for the night, and he wants a single bed because he doesn't want to hear anybody snore. So all he has to do is drag this into his inventory. He receives a single room key, and the money has been taken out of his inventory. Now, something you, the DM, need to know is that if Grok decides to drag this over from the item, it will put it in his pack and it will not exchange the money. That's important to know. Make sure your players know that when they want to purchase something, they have to use this icon from the parcel to make the purchase, or they're going to be stuck doing the money themselves, or you're going to have to do the money. Um, so it's going to take a little bit of getting used to for your players. But once you walk them through this and once they get used to this, it'll be super easy and it'll be a lot of fun. So the other thing that you need to be aware of is, like I said, Grok has 5 gold pieces and 3 silver pieces now. He can afford to take a bath. So let's just go ahead and get a warm bath set up for Grok. And he decides that he does want to take this warm bath. He's willing to pay for it. It costs 8 silver pieces, but he's got 5 gold, so it shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a problem. Fantasy Grounds does not have the ability to exchange money. So even though he's got 5 gold pieces, it cannot break that down into silver pieces. So at some point in the game, somebody's going to have to do a little bit of exchanging, and that's just part of the pitfalls of doing this. It's not a perfect system, but it's not really that hard to exchange the gold for silver uh, by hand. It's just kind of a pain. So let's just say now that Grok has got his room and his bath, he wakes up in the morning and decides, you know what? I think I know where I've seen that Trunk Cold Spell guy. I'm going to go try to get him and see if I can't turn in this reward. So when he is taking things off of the bounty board, he can either do this from the parcel or he can do this from the item. I personally would train my players to take things off the parcel when it's available, just so that it doesn't get confusing later. So he takes Trunkle Spell's flyer, and when he looks at this, it now pops a flyer into his pack that he can see the description. And just for fun, I went ahead. Oh, he hasn't loaded this module. Okay, we'll load it. There we go. He can see a picture of the guy that he was looking at on the boards, just in case, he needs to compare it. So the bounty board has this feature. I didn't really put this feature on any of the others because I just wanted it to be kind of fun for my players to be able to take a look at it like it's really a bounty poster. So that is how that works inside their inventory. So let's just say that Grok is a super efficient hero and he is able to get Trunk Cold Spell and he is ready to turn in his bounty. He's going to get 100 gold for this guy. So what he does is he goes into the party sheet and he takes this item and he drags that into the party sheet. He's turning in his reward. So from the DM side, let's just get that up real quick. From the DM side, it looks like they have turned in the bounty for Trunk Cold Spell, and so I on a lot of the on a lot of people, when people are trying to sell things, they only get to sell them back at like 50% or 30% or 10% or whatever your monetary system has. In order to get the full 100 gold, this is going to have to be set at 100%. So once this is set at 100% and everything is ready to go, all you have to do is just pop this over. They no longer have that in their inventory. You have 100 gold that you are able to just go ahead and distribute down into your players. Now, I have 2 players on here, so each player should receive 50 gold. So we will distribute, and then we will go and take a look at grok, and he did in fact receive 50 gold because remember he had 5 gold pieces before. So this is true about all of the things that offer money. This is true about the Help Wanted board. I don't have anything that rewards money on the announcements. Uh, I will go over when we go back to the DM site. I will show you some just fun ideas that you can do with the in services board. And so let's just pop on over there and let's take a look at how to customize this so that you can use these features for your players. So here we are on the DM side of things. We're going to take a look at this. We're going to open up the story. We're going to close this out to get some stuff out of our way. And we are going to take a look at the general instructions. Now, as you see on our stories, we have instructions for each of the individual boards. I went ahead and just linked all those into the general instructions because that, when you first get it, it's kind of nice to just go by this step by step. Once you get this set up and you know that there are just some things you want to change on your announcement boards, your bounty boards, your help wanted boards, or any of the other boards, then you can just go in here and look at the instructions to kind of remind yourself how to work with those. Quite honestly, most of the people who have worked with maps and worked with setting up adventures, this is all going to be old hat. This is going to be super simple, and you've done it a million times before to set up the other things. This is just using images in a different way. So let's get started with the general instructions. So of course I made an explanation as to why this, what this is. This is just a way to seek food, shelter, and adventure. I've also put up here at the top, there is a link to the seller shop. That is another module I made that has basic shopping. The goods that are in the seller shop are just out of the SRD. There is nothing magical or anything wonderful about any of the goods in there. It's just something that's kind of nice to be able to present the players with some stores around town that they can go shopping at and that they can put the items in their pack and do like you've seen us do with these boards. So the general instructions that I have up at the top, these are true for all of the boards. It's just talking about making the links private and how to turn in rewards. Uh, we've already gone through that, but I've left these up at the top just in case you need a reminder of how this works. And then we get down to the guts of things. So before sharing your boards with your players, it's important that you set them up to integrate them into your setting. Let's just go ahead and get started with the in-services board because that is going to be the most simple, and then we'll work our way up to the harder stuff as we go. So I'm just going to dock these general instructions over here, and we're going to focus on the in-services board. Okay, so the in-services board, the first link that you're going to come to in the instructions is going to just open up the image that you have. So for role play purposes, you might decide that you want to change some of the values that are on these boards. You might decide, for example, that there are no more single beds in your inn, and the only thing that you have left are the multiple or the double beds. So you can do that. You can also decide, say, for example, let's just open this up. Uh, Perhaps your innkeeper is tired of losing his keys, so he has decided to offer a reward for those keys. Normally, these keys are 0, but you can put a cost in here for 2 silver pieces, and just like you turned in the bounties, you can turn in these keys and get 2 silver pieces left. Now, as you can see in the parcel, it's still going to cost them 7 silver pieces to purchase this key, but now they can get 2 silver pieces back if they give it back to the innkeeper. And you can do that through the party sheet, just like we did with the bounties. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock this back up. and make sure you lock all of these up before you close them out. I'm going to lock this back up and I'm going to close that out. Um, the other thing that is kind of some fun ideas that I came up with for this board is that my players tend to stable their horses and then run around town for a while, and their horses remain in the stable for a few days. So when they want to go retrieve their horses, if they have one stable ticket, but the horses have been in there for 3 days, then you can just have them purchase 2 more days worth of stable tickets, and then they can retrieve their horse. So that's kind of something that you can role play out as well. Um, there are so many creative people out there, and I know that you can use even just the in services board in a way that I haven't even thought of yet. So I'm really excited, and I really hope that you reach out to me and tell me how you have used these in some creative ways, because I think it's just fun to swap these DM stories with each other. So I've already talked about turning in the keys or tickets, and I have also made a link on the bottom of every one of these individual instruction sheets, a link to the Napnhaggle boards. So that way, if you have come to these instructions through uh, something other than the general instructions, you've just taken them off the list, then you can go back to these boards, you can open them up, you can share them, you can manipulate them, and so on and so forth. So we are done with the in services. So I'm going to go ahead and just close this out and close this out and go back to my general instructions and move on down the line. So we are going to start working with the announcement boards next. Okay, so let's take a look at this announcement board. This board is meant to be like your town crier or your newspaper board. This is where you put information about what's going on in the town or the area. And so let's just go ahead and open up that board. There's a link right there. This is just a list of the different pins. So this right here corresponds with this, and you can tell because you can open that up from either one. I went ahead and made the list right here just in case, like after you've been using it for a while, you can just do this without necessarily opening up the image. Or you can work straight off of the image to do your editing. Either way, whichever one works best for you. I just wanted to have like 2 different ways to do it so that people could work the way that they work best. So the weather report, the birth announcement, or the show flyer. This is the weather report, the birth announcement, and the show flyer is right here. These all work the same way. They are not in a parcel. They are simply an item that it has been pinned to the board so that they can just be read straight out. There isn't anything that can be put into their packs. So I wanted this to be mostly like a newspaper situation, so they're just looking at this. I did go ahead with the horoscope and the decree, make a couple things where people can drag those items into their pack in case they want to, rip the flyer off of the board to take a look at it or whatever. The horoscope is the most fun thing because I've added just a little blurb for every one of the different signs, and they can just take a look at it. They can pop it into their pack or they can just leave it there, whatever they want to do. But if you have multiple items that are on a announcement of some sort, putting it in a parcel is the best way. So if you have several things that you want your players to know, you can replace this horoscope with several different items. I went ahead and did the same thing with decrees. I made a couple items right here so that you could change these out. And so now let's look at how to customize some of this. So let's just take a look at the forecast here, and let's just say for your game, You kind of like the idea of a weather report, but you don't want it to be an extended forecast. What you want it to be is a daily. So today is the daily forecast. Now, I have a type and a subtype in here. These were for my own purposes so that I could keep track of what items I was making. Um, I kind of like the way that it looks when you read the boards, so I went ahead and just left them in there. Honestly, Fantasy Grounds, the program does not care what type or subtype it is because it is not a weapon or armor or something that it needs to make calculations for. So it just ignores it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off because this is going to be a daily forecast, and today it is raining with no chance of sun. Whoever made this forecast is really feeling blue today. So there we go. It's rain with no chance of sun. Now, you see that the pin still says forecast, but all of the information has changed. So maybe we want to change this from forecast to weather report. So we just lock this up, close this out, and when you look at the pin, when you mouse over it, it says weather report. These pins update automatically, and this is true for all of them. Once you've updated them and closed them out, then the pins change to whatever you have in this part right here. So for example, if you change birth announcement to the word attention, then when you close it out, it says attention, and you have to actually click on it to see that it's a birth announcement. So whatever is in here is what shows up over on these pins. And again, it updates instantly. So that is another way that you can change it. So now you know how to change what it looks like over the pin. You know how to change what it looks like in each item. That's very important because when you want to go change some of the other items, you already know how to do that. So let's take a look at these decrees. Um, these are, let's just go ahead and open this up and change this into King's orders. Now, you have the opportunity at this point. You can decide, I'm just going to delete these, but you don't have to delete them. You can actually just change them from inside. And these will change the actual items in the module. So you need to know that. You don't have to make a new item, but if you make a new item and you reset this module, those new items will not be there. So let's just say that we have the king's orders is that the elves are banished. And so we want to let it be known, if I can get this highlighted here, elves are no longer allowed in the city limits. I don't know why the king doesn't like the elves. You will have to figure out why the king doesn't like the elves. But now the elves are banished. So now we have an issue with orc poop in the town, and elves are banished. So we can just lock this up, and when our players open this up, they can read these. Notice that I don't have any money associated with anything that is on the announcements, nor do I have anything associated with any of the items that are on the announcements, because this is meant to be just simply a information board. Um, I've used the help wanted and the bounty boards to exchange money for things. So that's what the announcement board is about. So I've shown you how to change the individual items. I'm going to go ahead and just leave the horoscope list alone. I think you get the idea from looking at the decrees. And then once again, the Napnhaggle boards are on a list at the bottom. So this is the basic customization for the announcements. You can choose not to share some of these. You can choose to share some of those. Should you decide that you have other announcements that you want to put on here, you have more than 5. I have made every one of these right here be the size of the shield when you drag it over. So if you want to stick a pin in any one of these nails that are on any one of these boards, um, if you just uh, if you just hover it over these nails, you can put your own pins in here and you can say that the paper fell off or something like that. So these are completely customizable, and depending on your experience and how much you know about making these things, these announcement boards can be whatever you turn them into. Okay, so now let's take a look at what's going on with the bounty board. The bounty board is probably the one I had the most fun making, so I hopefully I won't ramble on too much about this one. The bounty board and the help wanted board work exactly alike. So once I go through the bounty board, you can pretty much assume that the same information works for the help wanted board, since they are both the same. So let's go ahead and just open up the bounty board. And again, to change the pin settings, you can right click, choose to make that link private, or you can make it shareable. Um, you can open this up, and just like I showed you on the announcement board, whatever name is here is what's going to show up here. So maybe you don't want people to know what the reward is going to be when they mouse over. You can take that off. And now it's just Baylor Cog. Or maybe you want it to just have the 500 gold, and you want them to know who and what this is about down here. So you can change, if you're going to change the name of this person that's here, and I will assume that you will want to change the name for all of them. Make sure that you change the name up here in this area, up in the title of the parcel, and then also change it on this right here. So we are going to rename this guy. We are going to call this guy Adam Smith, because I'm not thinking of good names right now. So to change his name, we're going to have to call him Adam Smith here. And let's unlock this. Boy, I had a hard time getting my mouse there. And we are going to have to call him Adam Smith here. Okay, so let's lock this up and close it, and lock this up and close it, and lock this up and close it. So now you know that this is a reward for 500 gold, and it is Adam Smith for 500 gold. And when you look at it, his name is Adam Smith, and although it's really small, his name is Adam Smith on there too. So that's how you do that. Now, when you look in the images and maps, that has now changed the name of that image to Adam Smith. So just be aware of that. Um, I don't think it's going to cause a problem for anything. It hasn't caused a problem for me, but every time you change the name of the person on these on the individual little posters, then it changes the name everywhere. But if you don't change the name of these, then it might be a little confusing, like which one of these pictures goes to whom whenever you are playing along and trying to figure some things out. So that is how you change an individual item on the bounty board. So we've already had a run-in with trying cold spell. You already know how to turn in your bounties. So that is pretty much taken care of. The other thing that I need to make a notice of is that none, excuse me, none of these are NPCs that have been made with this module. You are going to have to provide your own NPCs. You are going to have to make your own encounters. These are just posters to use. So I haven't included any NPCs with this, and I haven't explained how to make an NPC with this. You can go look that up because Fantasy Grounds has a ton of videos on how to do these things. So I've already taught you how to reward the bounty. I'm sure you're good with that. And again, the Napnhaggle boards are down at the bottom. So this is the same thing as the wanted boards. The help wanted boards work the exact same way, with the exception that there is no individual picture of the flyer that's up here. So I have a few different things on here as story starters. These would be your hooks to get people to do things other than bounties. These would be your hooks that you have within your module. So you could do something like maybe this hook and this hook, they both lead in the same place, but maybe your players are much more interested in hearing about the strange sounds than hearing about escorting a small child. I don't know how the two of those would go together, but you, as the DM, are an incredibly intelligent person. Also, the other thing I want to show you is that, uh, let's get the bounty board up here real quick. I also want to show you that, again, on these boards, just like with the announcement boards, I have left a ton of places for you to put your own pins. So even though there isn't necessarily a piece of paper associated with each one of these round circles, each one of these round circles is a great place to put a pin that you can make your own items, or you can make your own announcements, or your help wanted, or even your bounties. So if you have a picture of somebody and you want to make a bounty, you can just drag that pin on here. You can set this up on this bounty board. And even though it won't show up when you share this picture, when they click on the links, just like when they click on these, they can see the picture of the person that you are making a bounty for, or the missing person you're trying to find, or whatever your adventure is. So that is pretty much how to work with these boards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this video up by taking a look at the credits real quick. I am so super interested in hearing how you employ these boards into your game. This is just a base. This is just a start. And I just know that having something like this can get some adventures started and get some fun going on, and just kind of help you tell your story. And I'm so interested in hearing how that goes. So I have a list of different places that you can find me. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have a Discord for Tris Adventures, and you can find our other modules, which I have the seller shop on there. And HeHop has made the list of 100 from the Reddit forums, and there are so many lists on there. It'll take you all day to read through them all. And so I also made a link to my husband HeHop. He is on Twitter, and this is how you can get a hold of him on Twitter. I encourage you to bother him because he bothers me. So he's going to hate me for adding that into this video, which makes that even more fun. And as usual, we have the license from Wizards of the Coast. I have not used anything in this module that is copyright material that I shouldn't be using. And so I hope you enjoy this module, and I really hope to hear from you. And by all means, if there's any problems or you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. So happy gaming, everyone.